Okay, everybody, let's get to this podcast right away. This is Chris and this is Kaylee, and we are going to talk about her experience with the scammers. So, Kaylee, how you doing today?
I'm good. How's you?
Kaylee's a little bit tired today. She had to deal with a whole bunch of readings. Anyway, she went to an expo, and there in the expo were scamming psychics. Tell me about that.
Well, first of all, Chris, thank you for having me. Second,
You're welcome, Kaylee.
we've done podcasts before on scamming psychics and stuff like that. I've seen them like on the internet where they're messaging people and they're like, oh, I had to message you right away because this and this happened in your life. I just have this message for you. And like, it's happened to my friends and
But
things
you
like
just
that.
don't understand it.
But I was like, okay, well, whatever. You just don't respond, But I witnessed firsthand what that looks like in real life, like real person to person contact, what that looks like, right? So when I was at this expo, which was an amazing expo, by the way, it was just a great event ran by amazing people. But there were about like 5 different psychic booths, right? And we were one of them. And so it all started where I was like taking a walk around and like I had my arms behind my back. I'm just like walking around the event, just checking all out these other vendors. And every time I would walk past like people's booth, they're like, oh, you look so beautiful. Come here, let me read you. I'm like,
Huh?
I'm like, no, I'm okay. Like, thank you. And that happened once. And then like, I passed like 2 other booths and it happened. The same thing happened. Wow, you have such a beautiful aura. Come here.
Listen,
let me read
you. Read auras too, huh?
Right. And I'm just like, no, thank you. Right. And so, I just like, I let it go or whatever. And
Sorry, I was putting my microphone.
it's okay. But then I started,
Well, what happens if you actually went to one of them? What do you think that they would say? And were any of them using pendulums or anything?
I don't know. I wasn't really, after a while there was one where, because there was one like right across the way from me. And like, this is where I really like witnessed everything, right? And they were using like the Tibetan like bells and meditation things and like whatever. I didn't see them using any pendulum because I wasn't like paying attention. Like,
Right.
I just saw them like, whatever. But, I heard experiences like after a while you're sitting across from a booth and you're watching things. And I'm sitting there one of the days and I'm witnessing one of the psychics from the booth, and they're walking up and handing things up to people, which is like, okay, right? They're handing out their business cards, whatever. And I'm like, but something isn't right. So they're walking up to people and they're handing in the card and going, there's something really, really crazy I have to tell you that's going to happen in your life. You have to come with me right now. And I'm like,
oh no.
What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like that's such an invasion of like, you just see them preying on vulnerable people, right? So you're just starting to witness them preying on vulnerable people. And how do I know like they were saying that type of stuff is because my fiance was tattooing this one girl's like the side of her head. Her sister was there and they did that to her sister. They went up to her sister and they were like, hey, I have something to tell you. You have to come with me right now. And when she sits down, they're like, oh, that'll be like $10, $20.
But wait a minute. You said you had something to tell me. You didn't say anything about it costing money.
Right. So it's like once they get you down, then it's like, here's the charge. And then what they do is they say, something bad will happen if you get a reading within 1 to 3 days from today.
Yeah.
Meaning like you can't go to any other psychics within 1 to 3 days because basically they're going to call us out.
Where's the logic behind
Where's the logic behind that? So when the girl went back and told Jordan, it's like, that doesn't sound right. And so he told me because I witnessed, it was so crazy because I witnessed the one girl walk up to and you could tell like, anybody could read people's body language,
right.
Okay? Anybody could read people's body
That's a
language.
cold reading.
So I'm like watching them. People are limping and they're going up to those people. People are slouched over and they're going up to those people. And I'm like, they are preying on vulnerable people. And I watched this one come around the corner and they're like, she's like looking at her and she's like, you come here. And like pointed at the girl and called her over like, you come here. I have something that like you have to, and she's like walking away and like trying to get the girl to come. So she's like moving her body, like follow me. And the girl's like, no, like I'm good. Like I don't want.
Could you describe these people?
Well, I mean, yeah, they had like the ones across the way. They had like black hair, then they had blonde hair. There were so many different kinds, but like. You can clearly look at them and tell like something is not right in your spirit. Like I was looking at them and like I just got an irk in my soul. Like something is just not right about these people, and so it ended up being the same. It ended up they ended up having the 3 different booths, right? So it ended up I am finding out that they own all 3 of the booths, and there was this one guy with sunglasses on that stood in the middle of the expo with an iPad and would just watch all the different booths. And he kept walking past my booth. And I remember he walked past my booth, he took off his glasses, he looked at my sign, he looked at me, and he just started laughing in my face. And I just like looked at him straight in the face, and I just like, I didn't say anything. I didn't like.
Oh, you're a better person than me.
You know, but like.
I would have said something.
But here's the thing, is like, I'm not, it's somebody that I was, you know.
You would have put in a tough situation. I understand that.
Put in a different situation where it's like I'm not going to cause issues, and I know me, when I get mad I turn red and I don't know what the hell happens, right? So you just don't want to.
Don't piss off Kaylee.
It's just like when I get to that level, it's just, you know what, I have to stay in my heart and just trust that everything is going to be just fine. Like karma's a bitch, right? So I'm just going to go. So I called Chris because I'm like, I know that he knows what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I'm actually witnessing firsthand the most disgusting thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. And they are preying on vulnerable people. But you know what? It makes me that much more grateful that I found you guys who are like real. Okay, because.
But we are grateful that we found you as well.
Yeah.
So, but wait, so I'm gonna just put it out there and hate me if you like, or come and debate me on the podcast, but there is a psychic shop right near Joan Jefferson and right near the Roosevelt Bridge. There on the right hand side it says psychic, and there's psychic in the window, and there's and I have had numerous people come to my store saying they went there and they told them that they had curses and that only they can lift the curses, and it's going to cost like $300 or whatever it is like that. So you're scammers. And I'm calling you out. You got the balls to come over here and go on the podcast. You're one of these people.
You say that they were walking in downtown Stewart too, trying to like pick up.
The people that used to be in that little yellow house over there.
Oh, okay, we're doing that.
They were living in the house, and then they would walk down here. It was a fair that it was, you know, like one of those fairs that we have done here.
Yeah.
And she was walking down here, and I recognized her, and I said, you know, what are you doing? You're handing out a pamphlet, you know, you're a scammer. And she goes, I'm not a scammer. I said, you know who I am, and I know who you are. So why don't you just stop scamming people? I mean, I'm going to confront you. That's just the way I am. That's who I am. So I am so grateful that I was not at this place, because I would be like at each booth, and I would be like, excuse me, don't go to these people. They're scammers. They're going to tell you there's something wrong with you. They're going to tell you that you have a curse that only they can lift. Now, what freaking psychic is going to tell you, oh, by the way, you can't have a reading for 3 days? Who the F told you that? Like, what is the logic behind that?
Yeah.
I've even had
a 3-day event. Like, right. Hello?
Right, yeah.
Hello?
So I've had people say
together, like.
I've had people say to me, so from the time somebody dies, you have to wait 27 hours and 3 minutes before that you can read them. Now, I'm paraphrasing the hours, but it was like that. And you have to wait that certain time for them to transition in order for you to be able to read them. Well, let me tell you something. I can read you when you're alive and when you're dead. So it doesn't matter to me. What makes me real and them fake? Nothing. I'm not saying I'm real. I'm not saying I'm fake. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I have said that over and over and over. I just don't know what I'm doing. These people know what they're doing, and they're scamming. And they know they're scamming.
But you know what's interesting? Is like I didn't even have to say anything. I went up to the one booth behind me and like one of the vendors, right, that I bought this really cool shirt off of. And she looks at me and she's like, I have a question for you. She goes, you do like the psychic readings and stuff, right? And I was like, yeah. She goes, why are you the only one who's not chasing people down?
Because I'm a psychic and a genie.
And I was like, I'm so happy you noticed.
It's called morals.
She's like, I was outside just trying to relax. And they came up and asked if I wanted to do a reading outside. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
But you called me pretty pissed.
Huh?
You called me.
Absolutely. I was so pissed off. And not just at the fact of like, oh, they're getting all these, whatever. I'm more pissed off at the fact of why are you preying on vulnerable people? Get out of here. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're putting such a bad name on like psychics and psychic in general.
Just want to help. Like we want to help.
And that's what I said is like, when I tell people, I said, all we want to do is help other people. And like, when I remember getting so many questions this weekend and it was like, I'm scared. And people came in, they were like, I'm scared. And is it spooky? And I'm like, no, not at all. No.
Mine's spooky though.
Not at all. I mean, you might get like, whoa, like, how do they know, whatever.
Right. Mine's not spooky.
But it's not like
accurate.
It's not like that. You know what I mean? I was like, and don't be nervous. A lot of it's validation of what you already know, you know, but like,
that's true.
And I said, and that's why like people shouldn't have like the fear, you know what I mean? It just puts a bad name out there. And I mean, it was just disgusting. But you know, what's really funny is the last day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just feel my anger. So I remember walking in on the last day and I sat there and I was angry and I'm like, okay. And I just like, I felt it for a minute and I allowed myself to just be angry for a second. And I didn't vent on it that last day. I was just like, okay, I'm just trusting today is going to be a really great day.
And with that,
shit, I literally ended up getting back-to-back readings. And guess what? Mainly all of my readings were by word of mouth.
Right.
It trickled out from one person going to another booth, basically still crying from a reading, them asking why they're crying, them talking about this.
The chick was so accurate.
Them bringing back their mom, them bringing back their dad bringing back their son bringing back the wife. Like, I mean, it ended up just trickling out because that's what we bring to people is like, they're like, oh my gosh, I got to connect with grandma.
Right.
And guess what? They bring back more people. And then it's like one girl, like I brought up both of her dead parents. You know what I mean? Like that's what we get to.
And that's what you do. You touch their heart.
To do. And like I by no means have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I have no means by knowing that I'm going to go into this reading bringing up two dead parents. But like how beautiful is it that for this event, she had no idea what she was doing. She got guided to me to bring that through for her, to bring her comfort, to know she's not alone.
It's so funny that I read somebody today, and on the way in here, she mentioned her daughter's name. And I said, well, everybody knows me. I called her a dumbass. And I said, well, now I can't bring up your daughter. And I said, and, she's a cop, and she's going to be retiring. And she's like, yeah, how'd you know that? I said, well, that's all I'm bringing up. And then I brought up all these other things. A lady came in, I brought up everything about her. I brought up unhappy marriages. So what we do, and when they cry, is because you touch their soul.
Yeah.
It's not
It's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right. So we're trying to give them
Unsettle
closure.
their soul. You
Give
know
them
what I
closure.
mean?
Give them a path to go down. Give them a road to actually lead to, so they can move forward in their lives. You're not supposed to tell them they have curses, and the only way they can be lifted is through the person that's reading them. There is no curses. So you put something in somebody's mind, then they're going to think that there's something wrong with them. Then all of a sudden they're going to have a curse. They come into my store. I try to explain to them there is absolutely nothing to do with a curse.
Yeah.
I've even gone as far as giving him a crystal for free, just to say that this is going to help you. And it's mind over matter, and they're okay after that. But it's the people like that, the people like in the little yellow house, and the people like in the psychic store in Joan Jefferson over there, is that what they do is they find people and they ask key questions. So the key questions, first of all, when you go to a psychic, you don't ever give them information.
None.
You do not give them your birthday so they can profile you. You don't. You want to be on a first name basis with somebody that you're reading, so you just ask for their first name. You don't ask for their last name. If they start to give you your last name, tell them, no, I'd rather not have your last name, please. And they're only allowed to talk about something that I write on the timeline first, which holds me accountable. Okay. That's the way it kind of should be done. Now, we're not experts, and there are so many other psychics that are better than us, and that's just the way it is. And so what I'm trying to say is that you got to be very careful of who you go to, because mostly scamming psychics, they're mostly scamming people. That's just the way they are. Go ahead. I took over the microphone. I shouldn't have done that.
Huh? Oh, me?
Yeah,
No, you're good.
What did Wendy want?
She said leaving. She said she's talking about leaving. Yeah, that's what she said. She said leaving. But you know what's
It's her birthday.
is I know. So
Happy birthday, Wendy.
Happy birthday, Wendy. She probably does want to go home. There was literally a guy and a lady that just walked in earlier. And she came in and she said, I went to like my medium friend over in Tampa or whatever. And she told me, and I'm trying to sell a home, and
Can I just interrupt 1 second?
Okay.
I'm sorry to do that. Medium friend. No such thing. You can't read your friends. And the reason you can't read your friends.
You know too much about them.
Right. So are you reading them because you know too much about them, or you're reading them because it's really true? You're going to second guess yourself. At least that's the way I feel about it. I can't read family or friends. But I like with Kaylee. If there's something wrong with Kaylee, I'll know there's something wrong with Kaylee. But I think that's because I know there's something wrong with Kaylee. Like, if something goes wrong, I think I know it.
You know something's wrong with your friend.
Right. So, I mean, honestly,
so
don't get a reading from your friend.
Yeah.
Sorry. Good.
No worries.
I just need to know.
So her friend was like...
Are you blurry on here?
No.
You're not, right?
No.
It's my age. Sorry.
So this guy and this lady walk in, they said that, and she was like, we're trying to sell a home, and she said that I needed sage and that I needed a St. Joseph to put head down in the front yard, and that I needed a green candle and salt.
Salt.
To cleanse St. Joseph.
What is she having, pasta?
Salt. And okay, so I looked at her and I said, okay, with the sage, just always make sure, like, everything is intention, all right? So what your intention is going to mean the most when you're doing all of these things. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't care if it's a rock, if it's a candle, if it's a sage. What is your intention when you're doing it? If you're going in with the intention and you're in fear when you're doing it, guess what intention is going to go in? So I looked at her and I said, I really want to invite you right now. And I looked at her and her husband. I said, I want to invite you to step out of the fear right now, that you're not going to sell your home. And she said, well, that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, exactly. So I want to invite you into trust, right? And when you do
That's a good
sage,
word.
when you do sage your house, I want you to go in with the intention of this house is abundant, right? This house is prosperous. Only love and light is allowed in this home, right? All what negative energies must leave immediately, right? It's going to bring in the intention of moving out the fear, right? Moving out the distrust, moving out whatever. And she's like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, that was great advice. And when I went and grabbed my stuff out of the car. I came back and I opened the door, and her and her husband were leaving. And apparently her medium friend brought up the month of February as selling the thing. And something in me was like, no, like September, right? So when she left, I opened the door, she was walking out, and I said, by the way, hold on to the month of September. And she said, that's so crazy because my seller is quitting or getting whatever in August, and we're thinking of taking over in September.
Was this here or at
This was here. This was like literally like right before I did this reading. And she said, that's so wild that you say September because the person who's selling our home is what I think it's like quitting or whatever in August. And we're thinking of selling the home ourselves in September.
That wasn't part of the people that I were reading to, was it?
No, it was just random people that came in and bought the sage and the incense.
It's those same dates came up with the people that I just read.
Oh, really? No, it wasn't. They just came in for all that kind of stuff. And so I brought up the month of September, and that was just funny. But the whole point is like, we're supposed to be helping people,
Right.
Quit scamming people.
Right.
For real.
Supposed to help people. So it's funny when people come into the store, I say, hey, listen, we're not here to sell you. We're not here to sell you anything. We're here in case you want to buy something.
And then what they were doing.
Tell us how you really feel.
So when like they would get a reading, the guy would walk up to the girl and like high five her and stuff, and like when they're reeling people in and like,
yeah, way to scam. Hey, good job.
Yeah, and then at the end, the last day, it was so funny because the one girl, and the first day, the girls were coming into my booth and looking around, pretending like they were looking around. Really, I knew they were looking at my prices and things like that. Right? They're trying to get a gist of what I'm.
Were they selling merchandise as well?
No. So they were just taking a look at everything. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come back for that bolt or whatever. They're doing the thing because like Rob was with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so they.
How'd he do?
He did good.
Did he sell anything?
I don't know. I feel like that's to discuss with him. But I don't know. He did like I don't really know. I was doing readings the last day. We'll talk about this.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. Anyways, they were coming into the booth, and on the last day, the one girl's friend came up to me who was like sitting with her and helping her within her booth, came up to my booth as I was like breaking down and goes, so how much are your readings? And I was like, $40 for 15 minutes and $70 for 30. She's like, okay, thanks. And like walked away, and you can just tell like it was just pissed, like just mad. And like it's not about the money, right? It's not.
It's a normal price. So why change the price if you're going somewhere else?
The price. Why aren't you asking about the reading, right? How do I read? If you're really interested in helping people, why are you worried about the money?
And mind you, we are probably one of the lowest priced that have a storefront because when you have a storefront, it costs a lot more money.
Yeah. That's one question. It's like why isn't it? Oh, how do you read? Like, how are you touching people?
What type of reader are you?
Yeah, like how are you touching me? I'm watching you, and I'm seeing people like, how are you? What are you doing so that like I'm wanting to help people. No, it's how much are you charged? Like what are you? Why is it about the money?
Because that's all
they care about.
If you go to a psychic and it's all about the money, then don't go to the psychic. Because, for instance, I did a reading today. I read the kid, and I read his mother. So I guess I should have read the kid first. So what I did is I gave him a free 30-minute reading to come alone without your mom. And he was grateful for that. Now, I could take advantage of anyone and say, I would like you to come back and he would have to pay for the reading. But I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
If I feel that my reading wasn't sufficient, right,
Yeah.
then I would offer to give a free reading to somebody. I wouldn't say, well, you need to pay for another reading. I find that disrespectful. I find it scamming. And all you're trying to do is worry about the money part of it. When if you're a good human being and you want to help people for fact, the money will always be there. All right, it's not like you're asking for the money. It's called abundance. It's called, I guess, a good karma. It comes back to you. Somebody's stuck on the side of the road. You help them and change their tire for them. And then you go home and you get out of your car and all of a sudden there's a $20 bill in the driveway. I mean, it just happens. It's a good way to live your life, not for the expectation of finding money or the expectation of getting money. It's for the joy of helping mankind, helping human beings. And if we all just helped each other instead of scamming each other, I think we'd be in a better place.
Yeah, I agree.
So at the end, you ended up doing a boatload of readings.
Yeah, it was all word.
Because you were true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't sway. You didn't fall into the trap of the other people. You know, you are you, and that is why people come to you here. So this is Kaylee, by the way, and if you want a reading by Kaylee, all you have to do is call 772-678-6170. We'll lift any curse that you have on you. No, just kidding.
You'll lift any curse you have on you by just coming here.
That's right. We have a really good energy store. We are a Christian-based metaphysical store, but we respect all ethnic backgrounds. We respect all sort of, like, if you're Wiccan, like, whatever you want to do, I'm fine with that. I don't judge.
Spiritual practices.
Just be a good human being. That's all. And I am proud of you that at least you got to see that firsthand now. And you know what I've been talking about for the last year, about these scamming psychics. And I really don't think that they have the guts to come here and talk to me about it. Or I invite you onto the podcast, and you can sit right where she's sitting right now, and you can tell me why.
Go in and invite them. We should go in and invite them.
Yeah, because I want to hear why they think all these people have curses and that they're the only ones that are allowed to lift the curse. Not only that, but they can't have another reading for a couple days. Not only that,
Why are you trying to take people's power away?
but they have also told people,
That's
by the way,
messed up.
take an egg and put it under your bed. And then bring the egg back to me in 3 days. When the egg is back in 3 days, when they crack the egg open, there is a snake inside.
I can't even.
So do you know how they do that? They switch the egg. And then they crack it open and there's a snake inside. That was the evil energy that's now gone. That is one of the scams that they do. They do that in Orlando. I did a TV show based on that in Orlando, where the lady was trying to sell me one candle for over $300 and something.
Yeah. Did Wendy leave?
I don't know, but we are. So have a blessed day, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
Birthday, Wendy.
Happy birthday, Wendy. Bye.
Bye.